Hello, everybody. Today is May 14th. Today we're doing security. There's one design story, and we're doing nonsense.
How's May already gone?
I was expecting May the 14th be with you.
Uh,
I already did the 511 this week. We're gonna give you the 511.
did you guys make the May 4th joke last week?
We
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Repeat. I've been waiting since last year, Krista. Since last year,
Here to make it.
and now
Hail corporate.
it does make me feel really bad inside because of the whole Disney angle. Because Disney.
Because Disney's garbage, but
You were never a Star Wars fan anyway.
Uh,
You're on the other team.
I like Star Wars for it's a good story, but Star Trek is aspirational. We should be more like the people in Star Trek.
Going to alien planets and banging them?
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
I'd be into it. But only if, like the original series, they were just human women painted. And very attractive human women at that.
You can get that at a Comic Con. There's gonna be some furries mixed in there and stuff like that. I mean, it's fine.
I gotta find a cosplay of Yeoman Rand. That beehive. I love it.
Before we roll into that, this episode's brought to you by Linode. Linode's got all kinds of new features and fun stuff. You should check that out. You can get a $100 credit if you sign up now. They've got tutorials for all kinds of stuff. You can set up WireGuard. We did that one. You can set up a VLAN so that your communication from Linode to Linode is basically free. They can communicate internally. It's like an internal network. It's not on the internet, so it's secure and private and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't count against you. But you can set it up for all your Linux hosting and all the automation that you want to do. There's a lot of good stuff. Web server, VPN endpoint, Minecraft server.
Oh, yeah. We still have the Minecraft server going.
Yeah, you
And
can
boy,
still play.
they are still expanding that at a rapid pace.
I tried to do the math based on the number of connections because the logs go back forever. I tried to do the math since last week on how much effort has been put into the creations on that server, and it's I think we're rolling up on like 200 man years of labor.
Yeah.
That's a lot, assuming
There's a lot
40
of
hours a week.
dedication there.
It's impressive what they've done. And some people built masterpieces and then just abandoned them.
Yeah,
It's amazing. I
they
mean,
got their prize, and it was like, my precious.
I don't know what else you would do in that situation.
We had a few prizes that were lost in the international postal shipping thing, so that was fun.
Opening those contests up to international people costs a lot of money.
It
It does. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad to do it, but also like, shipping.
Well, you got to think. I mean, like 3 or 4 of the top 5
Yeah.
were international, so we would have lost some quality submissions if we hadn't.
Yeah.
done it.
But you can get a free $100 if you sign up for Linode and build whatever you want and explore and level up skills. Those always look good on a resume. So thanks, Linode, and on with the news.
Well, for those of you who have made the critical mistake of having children, you are now raising them in one of the most dystopian times that we've ever been in. And you don't have to send them to school, but most of you will because it's convenient. And when you do that, they will be spied upon.
The Register reports that American schools' phone apps send to children's info to ad networks and analytics firms. Get used to it, kid. The way the article explains it, it's literally like we built the apps on the phones using off-the-shelf tools that automatically send stuff to the ad networks. It's not singling out the children. That's just how it works.
What, you want us to write our own software? Come on.
We built all of our furniture out of treated lumber. Of course it's going to poison the homeowners. What did you expect?
Now, if you want to escape this, other than homeschooling, what do? Of course, you throw money at the situation because private schools have the budget to build their own apps. What a dark timeline. And we have a couple of, this is the security section in case you didn't realize, that's security about your kids, but we have a couple of new bugs to talk about this week.
An estimated 30% of all smartphones are vulnerable to a new Qualcomm bug. This is actually in the modem. So there's a field in the modem that's not properly sanitized, and it affects 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G modems. Yeah, good luck with that. Intelligence services around the world were all suddenly very excited.
Celebrite wants to read more about this. So that will allow an overflow, and it will allow them to get into your phone's records. You can see your text messages, your contacts, and stuff like that.
Nice.
They can't get into the operating system. But they can get into any part that the modem can get to from the phone.
Yeah.
So that's stuff you don't want people to find out about. And think about two-factor.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that Windows Defender probably isn't the best antivirus solution, but it's there, and good luck getting rid of it. And while it's there, it's not just defending.
Windows Defender bug fills Windows 10 boot drive with thousands of tiny files. So they don't take up a lot of space by themselves, but the way that modern hard drives are, there's a certain minimum amount of space that a file has to require. And depending on how big your drive is, it may be even bigger than that. You may be looking at 32 or 64 kilobytes of space for every tiny little file. And pretty soon your hard drive's full. They're working on a mitigation to try to roll it back or deal with it, but a little bit of a mess.
You can go in, I can't remember what the path is, but they give you the path in that article. You can go and delete them yourself if you want to.
Whoops.
Probably should if you've been running that Windows for a very long time. And Proctor software.
Proctorio.
But proctoring is the software.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's a huge thing now. And if you're in university, you are pretty much required. I think almost all universities are doing this now, right? There's a couple of holdouts.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Does everybody, because like in our day, the professor would just sit in there with you. But like a lot of universities, like when there's a final exam, the professor's not even there. You just go to a big room and there's somebody in the room monitoring you. Yeah, but that's the proctor.
But right now, they're not even going to the campus.
Yeah, I was going to say. But even when I was in school, like 10 years ago now, the professor always sat in the room with us. That must be like a very recent thing.
Yeah, well, the professor now is a robot. Yeah. He sits in your computer.
Well, the proctor the professor played the role of proctor for us, but for a lot of people, a low-paid grad student would be the proctor. That you'd never seen them before, and they're administering your test.
And like a lot of the software that is sort of spawned out of nowhere because of great need during the pandemic, it was maybe sloppily thrown together.
College student sues Proctorio after source code copyright claim. Lawyers claim Eric Johnson made fair use of Proctorio software code in a critical Twitter thread. So there's a plugin for Chrome that is at the center of this whole controversy. And plugins for Chrome, because Google doesn't trust you, and rightfully so, extension authors, you can look at the code for how it's put together pretty easily. That's what he did. And he said, wait a minute. This thing is hastily built and shoddily constructed. And Proctorio really did not want anybody to point out that the emperor was not wearing any clothes. They spurged out. And
so far, they've been successful with that, even though it should be illegal.
Yeah, they took his tweets down, so he's suing them. I think the EFF is involved, and so the EFF's like, look, we got an army of lawyers. You've been harmed. We got a tort. Are you on board? And he's like, yeah, buddy.
He might not have to worry about those tuition payments after this year.
Exciting times.
Peloton is a company that just kind of blew up out of nowhere into the public awareness because they made these really, really fancy, expensive fitness machines.
It's so patronizing.
Bike, yeah.
The bike was the big one, but then after that, they started rolling out other stuff. And one of the things about it, kind of like Apple, these are like high design, really beautiful machines. But they may have ignored something really important with those designs. The big one is not what this article is about. The big one is they can't wait to gobble up children and pets.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Just kind of.
But it's not the only problem that Peloton has right now.
Peloton's leaky API let anyone grab riders' private account data, but the company won't say if it has evidence of malicious exploitation. Who knew that putting an automated encouragement robot on an exercise bike could be so successful?
Well, it's not just an automated encouragement robot. It's also other people involved. So you feel the guilt of not getting on your Peloton that day.
Hey, did you see the, Simone Yetch, the
robot
shitty robot girl? Mm-hmm. Did you see the one that she built that was called a Proud Parent? It's like a torso mounted to the wall that just has an arm, and you put a quarter in it, and the arm extends and pats you on the shoulder, and it says, "I'm proud of you, son." And
no.
and it's just, there's something about that that's bittersweet. And that reminds me of the Peloton thing. The Peloton thing is just a more advanced version of that.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there's this famous doctor who was just a monster to the monkeys. He did psychological experiments on his monkeys. And one of the things he did, they had one robot, and this was probably like back in the 60s or 70s, so robot is very rudimentary. One robot that had milk, but was all metal and had no warmth. It was cold, but it would feed you. And they had another robot that was warm and covered in cloth and fur and was like the loving one, but unpredictably administered electric shock.
Oh.
The monkeys always went to the electric shock. They needed that comfort.
Don't we all, monkeys? Don't we all?
Yeah, that's the business model. We're monkeys.
I'm proud of you, son.
I've been thinking about getting one of those Echo bikes or the assault bikes, but I don't know if I'm hardcore enough for it. Anybody out there got one of those? Should I get
What
one
is
of those?
it? I've never heard of that.
It's a CrossFit thing. It's an exercise bike that is built to just make you suffer. Because it's
CrossFit's like the bro thing, right? Like bros always tell you about how they're doing CrossFit.
I don't know. I thought it was bigger with women.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing CrossFit. I just want, more of a cardiovascular workout. And those things
Engagement challenge.
Yeah, they're supposed to be ruthless. Another email server vulnerability, and you're thinking, oh, God, more Exchange fallout. But no, this is a new one.
No, it's XM this time. 21 Nails vulnerability impacts 60% of the internet's email servers. Are you running XM? Have you patched? If not, I've got some bad news.
They're in there. He Sung is reading your emails.
It's not good.
Man, they get a lot of marketing spam.
And DDoS. Man, it's been a while since we've had a good DDoS. Remember when the botnets were the big news story?
Yeah.
Or the low orbit ion cannon.
Well, they're still out there, I guess, and they're still being used, but they are kind of choosing smaller targets these days. I mean, this is not a small target, but relatively small.
Belgium's government network goes down after massive distributed denial of service attack. So, nah.
We don't know who's responsible yet.
Probably some 13-year-old is like, oh my gosh, I took Belgium off the internet. It's not. They're incorrigible.
Screw their waffles.
Are they saying, oh my gosh, as in, I'm surprised I did that? Or, oh my gosh, like, look what I did?
Look what I did.
That's what I would take. And remember Spectre?
And Meltdown.
Speculative execution. You thought we'd seen the last of it? No. No. Other stuff happened, but this was still cooking in the background.
Here's the actual paper. I see dead micro ops leaking secrets via Intel AMD micro op caches. So this is the ramifications of this are not yet known. But this security researcher figured out a way to exploit the fact that modern processors, both from Intel and AMD, break instructions down into micro operations, and then what those micro operations are cached. And so that is a side channel that could be useful for certain kinds of attacks. We don't know yet.
But definitely no mitigation for this in place. So if it is something bad, it's going to be out there for a little while. And remember how good they were at fixing those things? Not quite. But Tesla has fixed this one. So if you're a Tesla owner and you see this headline and you pucker up a little bit, don't worry. They fixed it. But there for a while, oh boy, were you wide open.
Tesla car hacked remotely from drone via zero-click exploit. So, yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. It's been patched. And I imagine that it's not been patched if you're like a third-party Tesla owner or you haven't subscribed to any of the services.
Oh, yeah. That guy who's refurbing them in his garage.
Yeah.
He's definitely
This is a wormable exploit, too. And it turns out this was in a library that apparently Intel developed, according to the article author, which I was surprised by. And also, this is something Intel developed for the automotive industry. But apparently it was like proof of concept or an example in the documentation. And so Intel was like, here's an example of how you might manage network connections. And Tesla just copy-pasted it, and probably a lot of other auto manufacturers copy-pasted it. And Intel's response was, that was just an example. We're not responsible for fixing that.
Why would you use that?
That's how we got SQL injection. Has nobody ever learned anything? Like that one post on the forum where it was like, here's how you can query for somebody's username and password. And it was just concatenating strings for the SQL statement. And then that led to half of the internet having not properly escaped strings. That's this. Have we learned nothing? Nothing.
And the wormable part It can use the Tesla's Wi-Fi once it gets it.
And infect other Teslas.
So if there are other Teslas in the parking lot, and if one is way on the other side of the parking lot, and there's another parking lot adjacent to that one, who knows how far it could spread. But it's fixed.
Yeah. The researchers were very careful to point out, it's like, we did not worm this because we knew what happened in the early days of the internet. And a worm getting out of control, that would be bad.
Krista, this New York Times web design. Like,
It is obnoxious.
okay, there's no headline, but there's a bunch of pictures, and then there's words, and then there's more pictures, and then what? I guess that's the headline?
Get past the subscribe now anymore, because I've used too many fake email addresses.
Oh, we haven't used one yet. But anyway, you remember this?
Yeah, the Slander Industry, is that the title of this?
I guess. I don't know. It seems like it.
Who could say?
So this is a New York Times article about how if apparently the people that are slandering you and the people that are taking money from you to take the slander down are the same people.
So there's kind of a similar to those websites that pop up and like for a domain misspelling, or that you park on top of a domain you're not using, that's just like garbage marketing links and stuff like that. These are similar to that, except they propagate slander. I don't know where they source it, but
Just make it up.
This
Yeah,
guy
you can
posted
speak it up.
one about himself on one site where they'll let you submit stuff, and then every other site picked it up. And he started looking into it, and he discovered a little incestuous relationship.
My favorite part of the article was like, I tracked down, so-and-so, and she ran this one website. And so I looked into her background, and it turns out she was arrested in like 2003 for burglary and safecracking. And I brought it up with her, and she said, oh yeah, do a background check on me. That wasn't me. And so I did, and it was her.
So, I mean, there used to always be that, it's like, are the antivirus companies engineering viruses? Seems like a strong business model, and that seems to be what they're doing here. They will slander you, and then they will sell you the service that removes the slander, which is easy for them to do because they control most of the slander sites.
I mean, that's pretty much what the business model of arrests.org as well.
Yeah. Remember when they put those guys' mugshots up? That was poetic justice. I bet they're out by now.
Probably.
Back out in society.
Yeah, they found one of the other people that ran one of those other sites had already, like he was in trouble for fraud in different countries, running fraud, and he was in India somewhere.
I bet an Indian president is a tough place to be.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Well, usually when there's a leak from a big tech company, if you're affected, obviously you feel bad about it. But there can be a little bit of a good feeling. It's like, that's what they deserve because they suck and they're bad at what they do. But this, you only feel bad because, we don't want these guys to fail.
U.S. physics lab Fermilab exposes proprietary data for all to see. Exposed systems pave the way for researchers to access code, messages, passwords, and more. They've got a screenshot here of somebody actually logged in at the shell somewhere. So that's more than just an API access. That's a little deeper. A naked FTP server. Yeah. So, not a great thing. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Admin.
Tomcat.
Yeah, admin password. Woo!
They fixed it, but it's embarrassing when you get all those smart people together and something like this happens. Destroys people's faith.
It does a bit.
I did not immediately realize I was looking at the Starship Enterprise here. I imagine you did.
I didn't. No.
No?
No.
But it is cool. It's not quite up to the original series
Hologram.
graphical
No.
standards. Did they remaster that at some point?
They did, yeah.
Because I was watching it recently and I was like, there's no way they did this in 79.
Yeah, they did remaster it quite a bit.
Still, it looks good. The remaster looks
They
good.
haven't officially remastered Deep Space Nine, but there's an AI that you can download that will remaster Deep Space Nine if you have the DVDs, and good Lord, it's incredible.
Anyway, they liken this to the holodeck. I don't think they're quite in the same category, at least not what we've seen so far.
No. Researchers create a free-floating animated hologram that brings us one step closer to Star Trek's Holodecks. And I was like, did we finally figure out a way to make light be emitted from an arbitrary point in space without having to have something in the air? And the answer is no.
No.
They have particles in the air that I'm going to refer to as super asbestos.
And what we're looking at here is actually very, very small. Incredibly small. You need a special camera and a special lens just to see what we're seeing right here.
And if this was a free-floating hologram and you were breathing in the particles, you definitely are going to get lung cancer.
Probably a bad idea.
So we're not there yet, but it is very cool.
Why does nobody think of using frozen water particles for this? I mean...
We're going to freeze them in the air?
Yeah, well, you freeze them before you emit them, and then you spray them, and then you use a laser to hit the one you need.
Well, it's not very realistic in terms of, like, I guess you could capture the water.
Yeah, you can just pull the moisture from the air in the first place.
Probably be pretty expensive. I imagine this is too.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of this seems pretty expensive, but
it's the Enterprise that's firing a photon torpedo.
Seems like it's that episode where it was firing at the space eater, but they got the scale wrong because the thing that eats the whole planet was very large.
You should write them a strongly worded letter.
actually,
and remember the Y2K bug? What was the more recent one we had? I don't remember. We had one of these recently.
did we?
It was something that wouldn't fit. But, when you build systems, especially financial systems, you're looking for speed. So when it comes to, like, how big do we make this integer? As small as you think we can get away with, because we're trying to move as much data as quickly as possible. And because of one man and his obstinance, that's a problem.
Berkshire Hathaway's stock price is too much for computers. So they track stock prices in a 32-bit integer, which is a maximum value of 4 billion normally, but they keep track of 4 decimal points. So it's a fixed point. So it's pennies and fractions of a penny. So that makes it not $4 billion, but $421,000-ish dollars.
429 is what they can get to.
Or 429, yeah.
So at 430,000, Berkshire Hathaway Class A will no longer be able to move through exchanges.
The problem is easily fixed by requiring that companies split when they cross this value. That is the least headache.
Yeah, I don't know what his reasons for not doing that is, other than just being famous for having a ridiculously overpriced stock.
Yeah.
What a great picture in the header as well.
Do you know why that picture is there? Do you know his conceit about that?
No, I was more just admiring the woman next to him who's staring intently at his ice cream cone.
Well, the ice cream is a big part of his whole mythos because he famously says that he eats like a 6-year-old because it brings him joy and he doesn't care anymore. So he's constantly eating ice cream. He claims he has ice cream for breakfast.
Wow.
Wow. His doctor's probably just screaming, but...
Yeah. That gives me hope for living a long time.
Well, his doctors are probably telling him whatever he wants to hear, just like everybody else in his life.
Yeah.
The Oracle, they call him. And not like that horrible company. Like the Greeks. To me, this headline says these no longer have value.
Yeah,
Isn't that what it says?
That's my takeaway too. Yeah,
Krista, let's see your rock.
I don't know. It might be out of focus.
What kind of size is that?
I don't know.
How do you feel that it has absolutely no value right now?
I mean, it has value, emotional value to me, but I don't really care about the monetary value of it.
Not value in U.S. dollars.
Yeah.
Headline.
Pandora says laboratory-made diamonds are forever.
So we're just growing diamonds. Congratulations, chat. We've entered the diamond age.
We've been in the diamond age for quite some time, but traditionally they were considered not inferior in terms of structure because they are structurally perfect, whereas natural diamonds have flaws. But the flaws were the value.
Yeah, we've been artificially creating diamonds for industrial processes for a long time, but I can't wait until the windshield on your car or like the passenger windows are made out of diamond. If Elon Musk could get diamond, windows for Cybertruck, he definitely would.
That's going to be a problem, though. Well, I guess they wouldn't break, would they?
Carbon is cheaper than silicon.
I was thinking, like, what if they're shattered on the road? But if it's made of diamond, it's just, if it's made of diamond, it's going to come into the car, take your head clean off. I think safety glass is required to shatter. That might be a problem there. But yeah, what about De Beers? They got that whole mountain.
De Beers actually, their intellectual property protection division is breathtaking. Like when you go down that rabbit hole, it's definitely a case of the abyss staring back, because they own an ungodly amount of intellectual property around artificially creating diamonds. It's really insane.
But they also have the giant cache of all the diamonds they mined and didn't let into the market to keep the prices up.
Yes.
And those have to have just lost a ton of value with this,
Yes.
right?
Well, I mean, I would have said that 10 years ago, but yeah.
Krista, what if yours was artificial? Would you care?
I wouldn't care.
Why
It
would
would make
anybody
me
care?
probably feel a little bit better if it was lab grown, because then it's like, oh, at least someone didn't suffer to make it.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
An African child didn't have to go into slavery to get that for you.
Yeah.
Breaking DRM is always a feel-good story. You always love to see these, and this one is particularly disgusting in terms of their business model.
Hardware hacker breaks the DRM on a mini dishwasher. So there's a tabletop dishwasher where you put the water in by hand. I guess it's made for like small apartment dwellers or whatever. And yeah, it just, but you have to buy the soap from them, and it has like a 670% markup.
Comes in these little cartridges here, and this little EEPROM is on it. This guy was able to hook it up to a reader, extract it, no encryption, and feed it back onto another device so that he could fool his dishwasher into thinking that he had 0 runs on that cartridge, when in fact he had 60 or 70. And there was enough juice left for 10 more good runs.
Yeah. And also, he figured out the formula for the soap as well. So he's really closed the loop here. He's got the place that they're getting the laundry or the dish soap from. You get the exact same formula, soap and rinse agent, and order it in bulk, and it's, quite a bit cheaper.
It's astonishing they haven't sued him yet.
Yeah.
That's probably coming.
This might be the landmark case that we need for right to repairability, because what he did should not be illegal under any circumstances.
No. It should be celebrated.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
But you know what's life-changing? Having 2 dishwashers. I wish that I'd put in 2 dishwashers when I redid my kitchen.
What?
See, we've covered this before. His idea is that you never unload the dishwasher.
Yeah.
You just move from one to the other.
But you just unloading it takes like 2 seconds. Also, this dishwasher is so tiny that there's part of me that thinks it would just be easier to hand wash this number of dishes.
Yeah, there's only that's definitely the bachelor-sized dishwasher.
Yeah, or like, you're living in a van. But I mean, if you're living in a van, you kind of have to prioritize what appliances you're going to get. I feel like this wouldn't stack up.
But that's a lot of water to be using if you live in a van, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think, well, I don't know about this particular one. I've heard that dishwashers are actually more efficient in terms of water usage, but I don't know how true that is. That might just be dishwasher propaganda.
More efficient than what? Oh, washing by
hand
hand?
washing. Yeah.
That might be true if you had the water running the whole time, but if you were conscientious about that, I bet you could beat it.
Probably.
Like wash them all and then rinse them all at the same time. That's a problem that science just can't solve, Chad. I don't know. You know what? I confused the AOL stories. This is my lead-in for the past one was supposed to be about this one, because I know somebody who still uses AOL now. Whatever. It's the moment's past.
About 1.5 million people still pay for AOL, but now they get tech support and identity theft services instead of dial-up internet. You can't dial up AOL at all anymore at all? I thought they still had some lines.
What percentage of those people do you think just like have forgotten that they're...
There are some people that still only can get dial-up.
But AOL?
Yeah.
Well, India is having a real tough time. It's kind of weird because, we're in this place like, oh, we're getting over the hump here, but not India.
No.
I don't know what happened over there, but they were not ready for it. And one of the things about India that I'm always fascinated by is the religious element and how powerful it is in their government and how phenomenally stupid these people are. But before I go any further, I will say I did have a little moment of introspection, and I was like, oh, right. That's us too.
India in the crisis. The chief minister asked scientists to convert nitrogen into oxygen. We can't. We're not that good yet. Sorry.
This picture is perfect. It perfectly demonstrates the reaction to that request.
He looks like he's using the bathroom.
What?
What
He looks confused.
It looks like he's squeezing one out. What if somebody, just based on this prompt, came up with this technology? And he was like, I told you.
Finally,
showed you
clean
all.
energy for Earth. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, you can't do that. So, don't count on that. These are the same people that told us that cow urine could cure that thing. It can't. I'm sorry.
It in fact cannot.
It didn't.
This was in the U.S., right?
I don't know. I wasn't sure about that.
I had trouble figuring out NNSL. Pro tip: if you ever run a local news site, put the name of the place at the top because we don't
Fort
know.
Providence.
I
Where is
thought it
that?
might be Australia, but maybe not.
But anyway, this is universal. Oh, RCMP. It's Canada. This is a universal thing because anybody could experience this if they're getting rowdy with the cops.
Grab legal in gaining compliance for arrest, judge rules. So somebody was grabbed in their private parts and
Grabbed and twisted, I think was the
Oh.
description.
Yeah. and they got some compliance real fast.
So, no, he had to be tased after that.
Yeah.
This guy was serious. But the argument is
That was not necessary.
they don't really train that. Is it okay? Well, they've ruled that if you are being unruly, yes, the grab and twist is a valid anti-unruly.
Well, I think we're going to have to
tactic.
pass some new laws. This is just not
Meanwhile,
acceptable.
a cop can put you in jail just because you said something mean to them.
Well, I mean, obviously, my mind goes to gender equity. How's that? It's not. You treat people different based on their genitals, and that's not allowed. You should be grabbing all the genitals. Vietnam, we have seen several instances of things happening in Vietnam. Vietnam is where that hotel was, right?
Yep.
Where the guy left a nasty review, and it went like to the Supreme Court, and he was almost deported. They do not mess around when it comes to online reviews in Vietnam.
Automaker calls the police on YouTuber for complaining about their new car. Vietnam's VinFast claims it was trying to defend its reputation against untrue statements by a popular YouTuber. So he got one of these cars and he had some complaints about it. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to take all this down. I don't even want to deal with this.
But they're not done.
Yeah, they were like, we saved it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You haven't heard the last of us.
Still going to court.
Someone should tell them about the Streisand effect.
Yeah, well, it did create a level of awareness about their cars, and apparently they're trying to bring those to the West.
Good luck with those tactics here.
What a crowded market to jump into.
Yeah.
I guess Kia did that, right? When did Kia come over here? It's been like
Been a while.
20 years ago.
Yeah, maybe more than that.
Maybe 30. Did you guys never watch this, did you?
Mm-mm.
It's so good. You should check it out. And Carole Baskin is a lunatic, and this is my opinion, killed her husband for sure.
I think that's pretty widely spread throughout the internet.
Yeah, and she is look at those eyes. She is crazy, and she continues to do crazy things.
Tiger King star Carole Baskin has launched a cat-themed crypto coin, according to CNN Entertainment.
She got all his tigers.
Wow.
I mean, granted, the tigers were probably in bad conditions.
Yeah.
I don't know if her conditions are much better than that. You always have to have a visual representation of your coin, even though it's not a real thing.
Big cat coin. Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate that it's got the $ sign in front of it too, so it looks like scat. Not great.
I didn't even notice that.
I didn't notice
The
that either.
scat coin.
It's really popular in Germany for some reason. I don't understand.
The money, the hot money that is pumping into our economy and making everything so insanely expensive is a problem, not just because of the inflation, but because it is often misspent. People aren't using it the way they should use it, and perhaps this is the best example.
Japanese town spends its emergency funds, that I'm not going to say because of the algorithm, on a huge squid statue. The town of Noto sought to boost tourism in the area where the squid is a delicacy.
I don't even think it's that good a statue.
It's not. It looks like
There's
something made by the high school art team.
240,000.
What's it made of?
Probably fiberglass and resin.
So I would be angry if I was a Japanese citizen and that's what they spent their money on, but
Yeah, well, they are. Some of them are angry, although some of them do agree with it. They're like, we got to get tourists back here. Somebody has to eat these squids. Or,
Wouldn't subsidizing a lot of free squids bring people in to eat the squids?
and if you didn't fish the squids now, imagine how many more you would have. Is
Yeah.
it squids or squid? When
Squid.
You use it, I think it's squid, right? Anyway,
Squidses.
not a great idea, but they did it, and they're not ashamed of it at all. They thought it was a good idea. This is just, I guess it is true. If we think back on our childhood memories, not once did I ever consider this. Did you?
Nope.
I just thought, crazy me, or I guess I should say misogynistic me. When I saw that movie,
You don't realize your privilege.
yeah, I didn't think about her feelings. What I thought was he just saved her life. That was life-saving what he did there. But, again, my privilege talking, it was wrong what he did.
Disneyland's new Snow White ride is popular, but that non-consensual kiss is causing a backlash. The internet weighs in. Film at 11.
I will say that you could solve this in the same way you can solve all of these problems. Make them both guys. Nobody will complain. They'll celebrate that. You'll get so many headlines.
I was sitting here trying to think of like the plot of Snow White. Does he even know though that it'll bring her back?
I think he does.
If he does, then it's kind of like, well, whatever. Also,
Oh, no, because don't the dwarves tell him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well then, in which case, I mean, it doesn't matter at all in any context, but it especially doesn't matter if like he knew what was going on.
Also, Krista, are you taking into account what an absolute stud he was?
Was he a star?
Right.
I didn't like Snow White that well growing up. I only watched it a couple times.
I imagine they made him a really good-looking guy, right? As close
Yeah, I
as they
mean, they're
could get
always
with
good
that.
looking. Yeah.
I've eaten a poison apple and Carmen Electra has come to wake me up. Am I going to mind? Probably not.
What a dated reference. Carmen Electra does not
Leave
look
her
like
around.
that.
What does she look like now? What is she working on?
Staying alive. I'm sorry.
Oh, the only articles are all about she posted some pictures of herself in a bikini and she still looks good. So I guess her acting career is still going well. I don't know.
Yeah, what's she been in?
I don't recognize that person.
That's not bad.
2020, The Last Dance. 2018, Alone Together.
Oh,
These are TV shows.
Carmen Electra
There's-
searches on
No.
a certain website skyrocket. Yeah, she looks good for her age. I don't know how old she is, but
She was in what other movies? Book of Fire, Chocolate City, Lap Dance in 2014. She's still around.
well, that's not actually the last story. Although Miss Electra she's still quite fetching. But that is not our final story. This one is a dark, twisted tale. But every time I look at this picture, I crack up a little bit inside. I don't know why, but this is hilarious to me. And I know it's wrong.
Police appeal for witnesses after sock placed over Swan's head in Lincoln.
Look at him.
So,
You shouldn't feel that. I mean, you should feel bad because it's a living thing. But like, it's a swan, and swans are assholes.
Look how tight that sock is.
Yeah.
Is that a particularly large swan or a particularly small sock?
It might be like a compression sock, like diabetics wear.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
What do you think's going through the swan's mind?
What is going on?
I mean, it's not like freaking out.
It looks like it's gotten loose a little bit through a hole or something.
Yeah, there's a little
on
bit
the
of
end.
white right there.
Yeah.
You think that's just a little bit of feather coming out, or?
I don't know.
I bet it's been like pecking at things.
Yeah.
It would eventually have gotten out of that.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. It depends on, yeah, again, what the sock's made out of. It
I
is
can't help
an absurd image.
crack up at that. That is hilarious.
It looks like he's like got a gun somewhere. He's gonna break into your house.
Empty the register.
One time a raccoon came to my mom's house and it had got all tangled up in like fishing line and something. It looked like it had gotten into like fishing line like on a creek bed or something because it was tangled in with like plant matter and dirt and just like it had pulled it from somewhere. And it just came onto the porch and was like, I'm done. I'm ready to die. Like, if you want to help me, that's fine. But if not, I'm going to just die right here on your porch. And it did. Mom got the scissors and it was very careful not to do anything threatening or anything like that, and we were able to cut it loose, and it was like, thank you, and then ran away, and we never saw it again.
Yeah, we used to get a lot of the stray cats would come, and they would have the cat food can on their head.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you just had to grab it, and they would pull away from it.
Yeah, there was it had eaten into the skin on the, and it was like, does it have rabies? Should we do this? Should we call animal control? And animal control was like, well, if we pick it up, we'll probably just kill it. It's like,
But have you seen those videos, the incredible videos where whales and dolphins will come up to divers?
yeah, and it's like, hey, help me with this thing. I was like, all right, sounds good.
Those are always
have
feel-good
thumbs?
videos. But then when they're cutting it off, you can see where the line has drug and like cut into.
Yeah.
What does that feel like in salt water?
Probably not
Probably
great.
awful.
Yeah. Well, that was depressing. Let's go. You know what? You know what made me feel better? Look at
Picture
this
of the swan with the sock on its head.
It's like that. This is it would be funny and maybe okay if it was like, Swan, this is your 5 minutes in the timeout sock. You've been behaving really badly. We're going to need you to improve your behavior. Here's your timeout sock. But I don't think it understood that.
If swans are anything like cats, I don't care.
They don't care. No.
Swans are mean. They're like geese, but bigger.
You think this was retaliation for the swan flexing on somebody?
Maybe it bit someone,
Probably.
and they're like, well, "I'll keep this thing from biting someone else," and they just put a sock on its head.
And they were angry, and they were like, "Oh, what am I going to fight back with?" But they didn't have anything, so they just took their sock off. But then you got to get it on there.
Swans are kind of aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, how did you keep the swan docile? I mean, I guess you grab it by the neck, right? And then what can it do?
I'll show you who's the apex predator.
All right, well, that's all we got for this week.
We'll see you next week.
Talk to you guys next week.